Imagine you're sailing the vast, empty Atlantic. Suddenly, you spot another ship, but something's wrong. It's moving erratically, its sails in tatters. You pull alongside, hail them, but there's no answer. A boarding party climbs aboard, and what they find becomes one of history's greatest maritime mysteries. This is the story of the Mary Celeste. On December 4th, 1872, the British brig Dei Gratia discovered the Mary Celeste drifting between the Azores and Portugal. The ship was perfectly seaworthy. Her cargo, 1,701 barrels of industrial alcohol, was almost entirely intact. But the captain, his wife, their 2-year-old daughter, and the entire 7-man crew were gone. The lifeboat was also missing. There were no signs of a struggle, no bodies, just an empty ship sailing on its own. Just a month earlier, on November 7th, the Mary Celeste had departed from New York City, bound for Italy. At the helm was Captain Benjamin Briggs, an experienced and well-respected mariner. He wasn't alone. He brought his wife, Sarah, and their young daughter, Sophia, along for the voyage. The crew was made up of 7 seasoned sailors. By all accounts, this was a competent, professional group. So, what happened to them? When the crew of the Dei Gratia boarded the ghost ship, they found a scene that was more eerie than violent. The ship had taken on some water about 3.5 feet, but that was nothing a working pump couldn't handle. The problem was the pumps weren't working properly. Still, the ship was far from sinking. Personal belongings were all in place. In the captain's cabin, papers were neatly stacked. In the crew's quarters, their pipes and tobacco were left behind. It was as if everyone had just stepped away for a moment, fully expecting to return. The last entry in the ship's log was dated November 25th, 9 days before the ship was found. It noted their position near the Azores and mentioned rough seas, but nothing that would suggest a catastrophe. There was no mention of an emergency, no hint of a mutiny. The one crucial clue was the missing lifeboat. This detail has fueled the leading theory for over a century, that the crew abandoned the ship on purpose. But why would they? The ship wasn't sinking. There was no fire. No signs of a pirate attack. The crew's valuables and the cargo were untouched. This brings us to the cargo itself, industrial alcohol. It's highly flammable. Some of the barrels were made from porous red oak, which could have allowed alcohol to leak and its vapor to build up in the hold. Here's the most plausible theory, Captain Briggs, smelling the fumes or hearing a strange noise from the hold, feared an imminent explosion. It's possible a small, non-destructive pressure wave, what some call a cold explosion, erupted from the barrels, creating a terrifying sound. In that moment of panic, he might have ordered everyone into the lifeboat as a precaution. The plan was probably to tow the lifeboat behind the Mary Celeste until the danger passed. But if the tow rope snapped in the rough seas, the ship, with its sails still partially set, would have simply sailed away, leaving them stranded in the middle of the Atlantic. This explains why they would have taken the ship, as a chronometer and sextant, their navigational tools with them into the lifeboat. It explains the lack of violence and the orderly state of the cabins. It hinges on a tragic miscalculation, a captain making what he thought was the safest decision for his family and crew, only for it to be the worst one possible. When the cargo was later examined in Genoa, 9 of the 1,701 barrels were found empty. This supports the idea of a leak. But without any soot or burn marks, the explosion theory remains just that, a theory. Of course, over the years, other ideas have floated around. Piracy, mutiny, insurance fraud, they were all investigated at the time, but no evidence ever stuck. The Admiralty Court that handled the salvage claim was suspicious of Captain Morehouse and his crew from the Dei Gratia, but ultimately cleared them of any foul play. And where there's a lack of evidence, human imagination loves to fill in the blanks. Stories of sea monsters, giant squid, and even alien abduction have been told and retold, each one more fantastic than the last. But the reality is likely far more mundane and far more tragic. Think about the psychological pressure. You're on a ship for weeks, surrounded by a volatile cargo. The pumps aren't working right, the weather is rough. A loud sudden bang from below deck could easily be misinterpreted as a prelude to disaster. Abandoning ship, just for a little while, might have seemed like the only logical choice. Once separated from the Mary Celeste, their chances were slim. A small lifeboat in the vast, unforgiving Atlantic, at the mercy of the wind and currents. No wreckage of the lifeboat was ever found. No bodies ever washed ashore. The Mary Celeste itself sailed for another 12 years under different owners before being deliberately wrecked in an insurance scam. But by then, its legend was already cemented. It became the ultimate ghost ship. Unlike other famous mysteries where we have bodies or evidence of violence, the Mary Celeste is a mystery of absence. It's a quiet, unsettling puzzle. A seaworthy ship, a missing crew, and an ocean that keeps its secrets. It's a chilling reminder that sometimes the most terrifying stories are the ones where we have to imagine the ending ourselves. Thanks for watching.